She barged into my restaurant, shouting that she knew the owner and demanding the celebrity table. I looked her dead in the eye and smiled because I am the owner. It was during the holiday rush, the kind of December where you barely breathe between seatings. My grandparents came to Canada from Italy in the 1970s and built this place with their hands and their hope. When they passed, my parents took over and grew it for decades. I started bussing tables at 15. A few years ago, when my parents retired to Florida for the winters, they sold the restaurant to me, keeping a small share for a little steady income. The day I signed those papers, I promised I would make them proud. I modernized everything. New build-out, new logo, press outreach. I invited critics, bloggers, vloggers. It was painfully slow at first. I lay awake at night thinking I had torched a 3-generation legacy and tied a loan around my neck. Then a local YouTuber filmed a segment with us, and the spark caught. Mondays felt like Saturdays. 5 to 10 times our old volume some nights. We became a go-to spot for big events. Celebrities would pop in. I even brought in a few high-profile chefs to cook for our guests. It cost a fortune, but the buzz was real. If you wanted a table in December, you needed to book in July. Years of grind finally paying off. Even now, I don't hide in the back office. When it's busy, I'm on the floor. Host, runner, busser. On big nights, I throw on a jacket and take the lead. That night was one of those nights. 6 women walked in. 5 looked early 20s. The one at the front, mid-20s, overconfident and loud, playing Den Mother and Queen Bee at the same time. As she led them in, she hyped the place to her friends, telling them the food was incredible and there might even be celebrities. Then she stopped at my podium and announced she needed a table for 6. Of course, I said. What name is the reservation under? She stared at me like I had insulted her and said she didn't make a reservation, but it was fine because the owner is a personal friend. He always keeps 1 or 2 tables open for special guests, and tonight we'd be using 1. To be fair, a lot of high-profile restaurants do hold back a few tables. I do too on certain nights. But I had never seen this woman in my life. I could see the play. She thought she could bluff her way in. Unfortunately for her, she picked the one person she couldn't bluff. I told her I was sorry, but we couldn't seat anyone without a reservation, and as she could see, there were no seats available. I didn't want to humiliate her in front of her friends. Not yet. She turned to one of the girls and told her to take a picture of my face. She said she was going to talk to the owner and make sure I would be scrubbing toilets or fired by the end of the week. The chorus behind her chimed in. Kiss your minimum wage job goodbye. You are nobody here. If you were someone, you would know who she is. Then the queen bee leaned in and said I could either give them a table or she would make my life very difficult. Not worth losing your job over, she added, dripping condescension. She kept pointing, kept belittling, kept repeating that I wasn't anyone, so I should say yes. I had already worked a long day. In that moment, I saw 3 options. Tell her I'm the owner and shut it down. Give her the table and let it go. Or teach her and her little entourage a lesson they would never forget. I chose the third. I smiled, nodded, and said, of course, ma'am, please follow me. I led them to one of the 3 VIP tables we keep open for last-minute celebrity drop-ins. I apologized for the confusion and told them it would be easier to give them the table. I also told them their first 3 rounds of drinks were on the house. I seated them and personally took care of them. Before I walked away, I asked for a credit card and an ID to keep on file until they closed out. The queen bee handed me her card and said this was her night, and she was covering. They ordered. Drinks started flowing. I told them because of how slammed we were, food would be a bit delayed. They did not care. They wanted the free drinks. 3 rounds disappeared before a single plate hit the table. Then a 4th. Then a 5th. They called me over repeatedly to ask where their food was, every time with that same sour attitude, and every time they said yes to another round. By the time the appetizers hit, they were already deep into the night, drinking on empty stomachs and picking at salads like that would save them. Here is what they did not realize. That table was VIP. It usually costs a few $1,000s just to sit there, but I did not charge them for the table. But the menus at those tables are different. No price is listed. It is a hospitality trick that is both old and perfectly legal. The VIP menu also includes higher-end items. White truffle and black caviar dishes. Specially imported West Coast oysters. And those cocktails they were inhaling after round 3. Not cheap. I had a moment where I wondered if I was going too far. Maybe they were just spoiled kids. Maybe I should ease off. But then I kept hearing them. One said to my face, do you ever feel like your life is meaningless because all you became was a waiter? Another told my server she was going to mess with me anytime she wanted, and I would always give them a table. I overheard one say, he is cute but I would never date a waiter, he is such a pushover. It did not stop. So I kept going. Not out of spite for the work. Out of pride for it. By the way, if you are still with me, hit subscribe. There are more unbelievable real stories coming, and I do not want you to miss them. By the end of the night, most of the girls had racked up individual tabs in the $500 to $600 range. I printed the check for the table and walked it over to the queen bee. $4,232.23. Tax and tip included. The smile fell off her face. She sobered up in seconds. Her hands trembled. She called me over and asked if it was a joke. I took the check back, looked at it, apologized, and told her I would get the correct copy. She relaxed, smirked, and called me an idiot while turning back to brag to her friends. I returned with the corrected check. She looked down and her mouth dropped again. Same total. I asked calmly if there was anything on the bill they did not order. They went line by line, phones out, adding and re-adding, pointing at the initial lines that showed the first 3 rounds as complimentary. Every single item was theirs. The queen bee suddenly stood up and said she needed the restroom. For a second, I worried she might bolt and stick the others with the tab. I let her go, but I did remind her, lightly, that we had her ID and her card. I did not make a scene. I just let it sit. She came back 10 minutes later with fresh makeup and puffy eyes. She launched into a monologue about how bad the food was, how dreadful the drinks were, and how the least I could do was cut the bill in half. She changed her tune about paying for everyone, too, saying the others would chip in. Then she mentioned, again, her supposed connection with the owner, like that would force my hand. I told her no. Simply no. I cannot change the bill. She pulled out her phone and showed me a text thread with someone saved as my restaurant name plus the word owner. I knew exactly what she had done in the bathroom. Changed a friend's contact name and deleted old messages to create a fake conversation. I tapped into the contact details and told her that was not the owner's phone number. She said he has multiple phones, that I could not be expected to know them all. I said fine, let's call him. If he approves a 50% discount, I will do it right now. She started to rant and raise her voice. Heads turned. It was late, the dining room was thinning out, and it was time to end this. I told her to cut it out. She does not know the owner. She has never been here. And if she keeps yelling, I will call the police. She tried to backpedal, stammering. I did not budge. I told her my grandfather started this restaurant. My family has run it for decades. I have worked here nearly my whole life. I am the sole owner. I have never seen her, never promised her anything, and never told a stranger she could waltz in and claim a VIP table. I reminded her that I gave her that table without charging for it and comped 3 rounds of drinks. If she did not pay the bill, I would call the police and hand them her ID myself. She signed, crying. The others dug for cash, handed her whatever they had, promising to pay her back later. They shuffled out, quiet for the first time all night. 2 days later, an angry man showed up and asked to talk to me. He had one of my bartenders fetch me from the back. I made him wait about 30 minutes. When I came out, he was still there. So was she, the queen bee, standing behind him with her head down. I brought them into my office. We keep high-quality security cameras in the VIP section, with audio, because of prior incidents that required clear records. I rolled the footage. Their comments. Their orders. Their behavior. The works. By the end, the man looked at her like he did not recognize his own daughter. He stormed out, yelling at her as they went. I have not heard from them since. On my desk, I have a framed copy of the first version of their check. The one that mistakenly did not include the oysters. $120 worth, left off that print by accident. I kept it as a reminder of that night. And before anyone assumes I bled money to teach a lesson, I did not. That table would have been held empty anyway. I never expected to sell it that night. The comp drinks were more than covered by everything else they ordered. The food and the later rounds of cocktails more than balanced the 3 rounds I gave away. Am I the jerk? Maybe you think I am. I will say this. The most shocking part of that night was not the attempt to muscle their way into a seat, not the fake texts, not the screaming. It was how little they valued the people serving them. That line about my life being meaningless because I am a waiter hit me like a slap. There is nothing meaningless about honest work. Not in my kitchen. Not in my dining room. Not as a janitor. Not anywhere. It is a poisonous mindset, thinking you are better because you do not do those jobs. I know some of you might also be uneasy about the audio recording in the VIP section. I get it. It makes some people nervous. We have that set up because of past issues in that particular area, not to snoop, but to protect staff and guests when high-profile events get complicated. It is how we keep good records when something goes wrong. In the end, the twist was simple. The owner she tried to threaten was the one handing her the bill. She gambled on entitlement and lost. And, in a strange way, her dad made sure the lesson stuck. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever dealt with this kind of entitlement? Was I out of line, or did I handle it right? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.